Just everybody, appreciate you being here. We've fourth day here. We've never left. We had summer school still in session. Guys wrap up their finals today and tomorrow for summer session 2. Those that are taking the classes right now. So we finished our summer workouts Thursday a week ago in July. That'd have been about the 24th. Got about a 3-day break to catch your breath. You used to get about a week years ago. Now you get about a couple 3 days with summer calendars. Back at it Sunday. We've had 3 practices in the acclimation world, 2 spider practices, a shoulder pad practice. We're just starting some of the contact building that you go through. Today's an off day. Team pictures this morning. You guys get a chance to meet some of the guys today. Practice sets up, 25 practices. School not starting until game week, Monday of our first game against Northwestern State. We basically work it in a 3 or 4 day, 3 days off day, 3 days off day, 4 days off day. So it's kind of like, even though there can be some mundaneness as you go through preseason, I think we got it set with some good recovery time, working with Coach Cook and our strength staff, and the people on campus are doing a great job of meals to keep these guys hydrated and their body weight's up, and we're not cramping up, and having great practices, which we've had. So got a good group. Got a lot of work to do because we got a lot of young players. I think we've got, like I think I said the other day, I think there's 16 scholarship players that were here my first day on the job that are still with us. Now, I think last year we had, 41 seniors or 42, I think it was, and all 42 graduated. So some of those guys are out. Some of that's just guys are out of eligibility. Some of the guys maybe had eligibility and looked at some other places. We lost a few transfer guys. I think we ended up, flipping about as many transfer we lost with transfers coming in since we've added Cooper Laga, Aguilar, an offensive lineman, offensive tackle, and Seth Morgan, a kicker. I think we added 3 guys, and I think with what we lost with the portal thing, I think it's about an even swap of about, 13 and 13, I think. Signed 30 high school kids, looking pretty good. Those guys are good. They're just young. So we got a lot of work to do, but it's a great vibe, great group to coach. They're fun. There's kids working hard, but there's a lot of fun working hard. Coaches got a good vibe. So 3 days in, a lot of work to do, but like our team, and see what we got a chance to do. We're doing a lot of good things. Hopefully that's going to translate into some good things on the football field and winning some games. Questions?
All right, guys, got mics for questions.
Hey, Coach. Obviously, as you mentioned, you do have a lot of new players, but being your second year for a lot of these players in the system, have you noticed much of a difference in fall camp from last year to this year?
Yeah, now we just got a few days, into it, and I think our schedule's basically the same, and not that schedule's that big a deal to the guys, but I think it's hard. We had a good group of kids last year, but you have a different language or a different way of doing it or different expectations, and sometimes you've got to earn their trust, and that takes time. So sometimes there's always a little bit of distrust or not as tight or as unified as you'd like. Now, you've got a lot of new players, but not to sound bad, but those are the guys that you recruited, so maybe there's a little bit more connection. And not that you recruited better players, but I think sometimes players and coaches can get attracted to each other. There are kids that come on visits here that sometimes I'm like, I tell the kids, I don't know if I like that. I don't think that guy fits that family. And then I'm sure a lot of times they walk over there saying, I don't know if I like those guys. I don't know if I fit. And there's nothing wrong with that. So even though you got some new players, and not that they're better because we recruited them, but I think there's a little bit more connection with the coach, the position coach, the head coach, and then the guys that are back. And even yesterday, I think I shared that with the team yesterday or the day before, that there's 16 scholarship guys. They all kind of started smiling and nodding and saying, yeah, I'm one of those guys. And they feel good about that because they have, I think, embraced what we're about. We're practicing with more volume, more yardage, more workload than we ever did last year in the first 3 days. And they're embracing, I think Coach Sweeney calls it the suck. I call it we're going to have fun working hard. And I think they're embracing that. So I just think there's a better connection. You feel that. Still doesn't mean we're going to block or tackle as good as I'd like to, or throw catches and cover as well as you'd like to, or tackle. But it's a good group to be around. and they like being around each other. You walk in the meeting room. If you had a chance right now, I mean, we ought to bring you over one day. Just go down to the dining hall and just watch them, and the way they interact with each other and the chemistry and cohesion that they're bonding with is pretty cool.
Now you have 3 quarterbacks who have starting experience either here with you or at a different school. Do you feel like they each have a chance of winning the starting job, and how long do you expect the battle to go for the starting position?
Yeah, it'll be interesting because I think when you really start playing, they have maybe some different traits too. Kirk finished the season very well, and I think sees things and is pretty accurate. Cardell played more than he last year and very athletic. He's still a little bit, more skinny than I'd like for him to be, but he's gotten stronger. In spring ball, he was having trouble with his shoulder. He fell on his shoulder last year and had a mild sprain, but it was his throwing arm. And it's typically an injury you would never, 9 out of 10 times listening to our doctors, you would let it naturally heal. Because it was his throwing arm, he just kept feeling a little click, a little glitch, and we decided to have him miss spring ball because I felt if he went through spring ball, he wasn't going to look good. So which to me psychologically is just going to even make it worse. So that being said, we didn't have him in spring. He's looked great the first couple practices. And then Cooper comes in with the most experience, who probably maybe is the most savvy running around guy. So I think in fairness, every time I've tried to be fair, equal in any competition, all you do is make everybody mad. Because you can't be. So I've just done, the greatest answer, and Barry won't remember this, but years ago, whereas I was at OU, and we had this kid named Bradford, who's a good player, and we had an opportunity to play Florida, and the question was asked, compare yourself to Tebow. And the answer would be, one's an athletic, strong running quarterback, and one is throwing the ball very well. That's in my mind. And Sam said, I was raised never to compare myself to someone, but to be the best I could. I'm like, wow, I'm 49. I've never said that, but what an answer. And that's what I've shared with the quarterbacks. The worst thing they can do right now is worry about those guys and just worry about you and do the best you can. I think it'll play out. And I don't want it to be, but odds are we're going to need more than one anyway. So we're not waiting to be coy because the offense is going to change and it's going to be a game day decision. But I think they've all earned the right to let's go have a fair fight and see how we're standing as we go through the process.
Me?
Offense, you obviously have a little bit of a thinner offensive line this year. A lot of them obviously gone. So what has stuck out to you in spring ball and also this week with offensive line and kind of who's jumping off on your chart right
Well, it's
now?
going to be a work in progress for sure. Last night we decided at our walkthrough to cut our old guys on third day a little slack and send them in. So we kept all the first-year guys out, and there was 9 offensive linemen if you count the redshirt freshmen like Caden Stanton and Jacob Waller and those guys that showed up. So it's a youthful group. Typically, that's a group that needs time on task and needs to be weathered and hardened and travel down the road a little bit. But we've got some rookies that might need to act like they're second-year players and some guys like Kason Carpenter and Bennett Ringlib that look really good as redshirt freshmen. They need to play like they're third-year sophomores or juniors. We need some guys to be a little bit more mature. Greg Fry's coaching our O-line. We had a transition area. He's a veteran line coach. Was with me at 6 years at Indiana and has coached in Ann Arbor and Florida State and West Virginia. And he's coached a lot of great places. So he's a great coach, but we got work to do there. I think no matter how good you are every year, you have to reestablish your toughness as an offensive line. You have to reestablish your physicalness, and I think that's over time because in our sport, you pop the pads, you lift and train, but it's not blocking, and you're not a really good offensive line until the end of the year, and you can see what you did. So right now we got a lot of work to do. That was actually pointed out to them and the team yesterday. We've got a lot of work to do at that position because you can't be as good as you need to be on offense if you can't block it. So we got to find some ways to help them in schematics and things we do. I think the tight end room will complement those guys greatly. But at the same time, too, we got a lot of work and development there. I like the talent, but they're as green as your shirt. They're green, so.
Well, on the other side of the ball, a guy that does have experience and just recently on scholarship, obviously, is Dane. You have K-Ray that got out, Jace to transfer. So what do you want to see from Dane this year to really step up as an experienced leader? He's our fourth leading tackler, and he's he's an energy guy. He's made some outstanding plays in the first 3 days, a couple really physical plays, just stepping up and hitting the guy.
yesterday we're running the ball, and Anthony Watkins is, I think, setting up to have a good year, and he runs his own play, and Dane comes up and just face-to-face, pop, like, that's good football play. Like, and we're not tackling yet, but, like, that's a physical, good, clean football play. The secondary, though, like the offensive line, we got guys like he or Malachi, and you've got DeMarco and T1 Parker and some young freshmen. You got Champ Lewis, a really talented transfer from TCU in here. That secondary is a little bit like the offensive line, though. And those are, if you can't block, you're going to have trouble. If you're giving up big plays, you're going to have trouble. I think we've got some pieces, but we've got some work to do and some development. And I think Dane's going to be one of the top leaders of our defense. I think Miles Jackson has emerged as a defensive front guy. I think our front's going to be active and athletic. I think our players and our coaches, you'll get a chance to see Coach Polizzi in a few minutes. I think they got a better understanding, and they're more aggressive, and I like what they're doing, and not just aggressive playing hard. I mean, they're trying to do some things to get their kids playing, buzzing around, behind their pads and getting after people. So I like our defense, but our secondary is going to have to improve as the O-line, and Dane will be a big part of that.
Rich?
A lot of big changes at receiver. Can you tell us a little bit about those guys? Who do you expect to actually pop out of that group?
Yeah, Cam has been, he's really good, solid player for us, captain guy. Has trained well. Hopefully he sets up to be consistent like he finished. He finished the last half of the year really is what we tried to get him as many touches as we could. He was playing as good as a lot of kids in our league, and I think he's trained, and I think he's at that point. If we stay healthy, I think he can be an upper level, really solid player for us and a solid player from the conference. I think Jeremiah Ballard and Zion Steptoe were two transfers that came in with a lot of talent. I think spring was a little bit learning curve of how we want to do it, how we the consistency that we need, the timing that we need, that you need to be an everyday practice player. And I think we had to go through summer to get their minds and bodies right. They've started camp. Coming out of spring, I was concerned, like, come on, I need you better. I think as we went through summer, they started figuring out some things of accountability, responsibility, how to take care of yourself and come out ready to roll. They've looked very, very good. And I think that's nice because that gives you a little bit more maturity than with just Cam. So like what Jeremiah Ballard and Zion Steptoe are doing in an early part of camp. You got Grayson Tempest and Braylon Presley have been solid guys that should be strong in the mix, whether I'm a 1 or a 2. I think right now Braylon's running with 2, Grayson are running with 1s, and Grayson is 2, but they're both kind of playing the nickel spot a little bit. And then you go to the freshman guys. Corey Smith was here this spring. Had a good spring. But you got, big Josh Smith's coming in. I mean, a year ago we played 4 receivers that weighed 170 pounds in most games. We signed 5 kids that weighed more than 190. And so it's just a bigger, stronger out there. Now, sometimes I tell them you look like a high school kid. You got your deer in the headlights. Let's go. And even though it's day 3, you're not a freshman anymore. You've been here 3 days. You're officially not a freshman. So don't act like it. Don't play like it. Don't think like it. So we're going to need those guys. But there is some talent there. And sometimes that room will be affected by what's called the tight end position, because the only reason you play 3 receivers, you got 3 good ones. And the reason you play more than 1 good tight end, you got 2. Barry can tell you back years ago, there's 1 year we had 3 really good tight ends at OU, and them suckers were on the field a lot because they were all drafted and they were good players. So you might see maybe some tight ends on the field a little bit more because you're going to get your best 11. You might see 2 backs on the field because I think Lloyd Avon might be as good a freshman as we have in Byron Lewis. So you throw those guys with those 2 tailbacks. So we'll get the best 11 out there. We can be multiple personnel. Offense doesn't change, but you need to get the best cats on the field. So like what we're seeing with Jaden, like the 2 transfers, the way they've started fall camp, they look like they should have. Like I wanted to look when they got here. I think they figured some things out. Like where Grayson and Braylon are as year 2 players in our program. And then there's some really talented young freshmen.
Was there any examples of
elite quarterbacks you've coached who you were able to get great results from an offense that might have been average up front because of that quarterback? And is it pocket movement when you say schematically help them out? Is it talking about pocket movement or just quick throws, or what does that amount to?
Yeah, I think a quarterback guy would tell you he's a quarterback, but haven't been a line guy. If you can't block, that guy can't play. So we got to have balance in the run game, and we got to do some things to help them sometimes, whether you're chipping guys, moving the pocket, keeping the tight ends in, or, you got to do some things to help you, and you got to get the ball out of the hand I mean, typically, like we were just talking about the receivers, the receiver doesn't need to beat a corner to get open. He needs to beat the defensive end that's rushing the tackle. So even though you might be guarding me, it's all relation to how much time I've got to get open. So you might can get open, but it's all relation to time and space. And so to me, it's, that line's going to have to come through, and we're going to have to help them, and we will. But that line's going to have to come through.
So in your history, though, can you remember lines that may have started at the starting line, they're pretty average, and they got better in season?
Oh, yeah. Or even the great ones. No, I mean, to me, you're not a good line until the end of the year, because no matter what you're rated at, all the guys coming back and all the stars, you got to stay healthy. It's a tough game. You build momentum. To me, like the really good lines, just like, it's like a train coming down or a snowball. It just, the momentum keeps going. You keep building. You're getting stronger. You're getting bigger. And if you're really good, you look back at the end and say, here's what we accomplished, and here's how we took care of the quarterback. Here's what we're able to do in scoring points. And that being said, hey, we did our job, or no, we had some issues. And we'll have some issues as all teams, but hopefully it's a developmental game or a developmental program. I think we got some great coaches. And most importantly, I think we've got some kids that like working that will develop. And that's the most encouraging thing. I don't think a lot of times don't develop because you feel like you're in a fight every day. I think we're working together, and I sense we're going to have some really great results down the road.
So do you have, on the offensive line, do you have 5 or 6 guys you're really kind of counting on, and you're just waiting for them to get better?
7, 8. I mean, we got 7, 8 just to consider. It's early, and we've had, first of all, and the secondary practice of defense was killing the offense. Of course, we got spiders on you. I tell you guys, you can't block them, because if you do, it gets out of control. But I want our defense to be so much better. I didn't say a word to the defense. I might keep coming. Come on. You want to feel the defense. And sometimes last year you didn't. So I was encouraged, let's go. But as we get pads on yesterday, day one, you'll get more and more comfortable. But I think you're going to see, for example, Ty Marks is a returning starter, pretty good center. Has played a lot of football. Casey Carpenter has had the best summer of any lineman. He's a redshirt freshman out of Allen, Texas. His daddy's an old high school coach. His mom's an educator. He sets up to have, as a second-year player, he will be a legitimate starter at center guard, probably playing a lot. Haven't played much. It's his time. Walter Youngbear started at offensive guard, a 300-pound kid out of Norman's, has played a lot for us. Ray Burnett's been a starter, played a lot for us. But it's time, I just talked about Casey, it's time for Bennett Ringlib out of Union, who looks good. It's time for him to come on and start playing. We brought in Ender Aguilar from Cal Berkeley. He'll be in the mix at tackle. Caden Stanton has a lot of athleticism. Actually, last year played goal line tight end at New Mexico, a young man from Beggs. He's a transfer in here. Jacob Waller from SMU, transfer in here. And I'm probably missing a couple, but we got some guys to work with. You just got to find your best 5, and that best 5's got to harden and get tougher and fight like hell.
For me, so when you hadn't even unpacked yet, and I remember a day you went out to Metro to watch Kirk, and I just wondered, did you have a sense already that he might really be a guy you could use in the program, or were so many people just saying, you got to go look at Kirk Francis?
Well, it started, I had a lot of key alumni guys. One guy's name's around this place a whole lot, said, there's this kid you might want to look at. Well, first of all, I kind of listened to that guy a little bit, so. But, Paul Smith said, I got a quarterback you might want to look at. And I played against, know Paul. And, but our concern, and Coach Burr and I, we were pretty adamant, we didn't want to bring the wrong quarterback in, because a lot of times they can't play another position, especially a local guy, and not have success. So we just didn't know, and the film looked pretty good. The film looked really good. He threw for 10,000 yards. Wasn't playing in the 6'8" bracket, whatever, but had a lot of tape, made a lot of plays. I liked him as a kid, but really, what are you getting? Typically right now, we're recruiting 26 quarterbacks as hard as the 26-year quarterbacks as hard as we can. We showed up in December, signing days in 2 weeks, and a lot of times you're recruiting a quarterback a year and a half or 2 ahead, getting to know them. And Steve was pretty adamant. I agreed, I like him, but do you really know? And we were pretty consistent with he and his family, we're going to give you a shot, and we think you look good, but I don't want to bring you in here on scholarship and you fail. But I told him halfway through the season, you're a scholarship player, you're going to be good. He had yet to play it for you guys. He was I asked the team the other day, who was the best scout team player last year on the field? They said Kirk. And I said, he was getting, you talk about no blocking, he was getting no blocking on the scout team. And he was making great plays against our defense. You could tell he had a chance. Now he's played a little bit. Is he ready to take I think he's up to 202 pounds. He's gained some weight. He's stronger. But again, he's still young. He's played 4 football games, and so is Cardale. He's played 6, and then Cooper's the vet, but Cooper's young in that he's still trying to. What's the system? What's this called? What's this language mean? So it's a work in progress. But I mean, I thought Kirk had a chance, but we weren't trying to be coy or like we were trying to hide him. I just didn't want to bring in a local kid and the kid not be successful. And I just wasn't sure. I was not doubting. I just wasn't 100% convinced. I think Coach Spurrier felt the same way.
You've mentioned your tight end group now twice. So can you go further in depth on what you like about them? And is McGarry one of those guys that you mentioned need you to play almost like you're a little bit older?
Yeah, he's almost could play like a senior now too, and he's a pretty good player now. I mean, he's really pretty good. Cowboys in his Ethan Hall's in his 6th year, and he's a tough. We've gotten him, I think, in time to settle down and play tough and not cross the line and be a little bit out of control. And Luke is pretty steady, and then Jackson Ford, the freshman from Melissa, is looking outstanding. Julian Roberts, another freshman. Both those kids are 6'6", 6'5", 240 pounds. They were both heavily recruited. They're young, but Jackson was here in spring. He's off to a great start. Connor Vaughn is actually our most talented of all the tight ends. He's been a little immature with some of his just daily habits of doing the little things right, but I think he's close to one point. If he can truly get locked in, I think he might be the most skilled of all those guys. So I think we can go 5 deep in that room. I think we have 2 kids that are basically starters. I think Luke and Ethan are starters. And a very talented guy that's been a little inconsistent, and 2 young kids that could be upper-level players. So there's some work to do there. But and that room, that edge presence of the tight end backside, tight end front side really makes the offensive line feel and look better sometimes than it is. And that's why it gives you a little bit of encouragement there.
From a maturity standpoint, what has that group of linebackers coming in meant to the defensive side of the ball?
That's a great question, too, because first of all, it starts with the 2 knuckleheads. I mean, Mutt and Jeff from Broken Arrow are they could be like a sitcom or something on the field out there. I mean, like what do you call those shows, those reality shows? They're they have a passion and appreciation for the game and for each other. And then Chris is excuse me, I think Chris Thompson was voted one of our most improved weight room workers from the side. I think his bench press went up 50 pounds, and he's coming from Southern Cal. So he's coming from a place that didn't, have a program there that lifted. So he's gotten stronger. So those 3 guys give us some instant just maturity. But they're probably the most energetic, most fun group on the field. And a couple of them are 6-year guys. And, we've got Elijah Wilson. Now, on the injury standpoint, C.J. Turner had to have a knee surgery. He had a knee from a year ago that never healed, and he'll miss this season. And that Matt O'Gunrin is a redshirt freshman receiver that has had an ACL injury in spring. And so those 2 guys are out for the season. And it's nothing that happened now. It happened through last season or through spring ball. So those guys will miss this year or so. But Elijah Wilson's return. Will Alexander's been a good walk-on player. It's in there, like the freshman Aquavius Dunbar and Mario White. I expect both those guys to play as freshmen. They're 240 pounds and can run. 230, 40 can run. So that group's about 230, 240, and they can run. And those 3 old guys have been awesome. And they're if they'd have been there a couple of years, they'd have went with me. That's why I'm bringing them up today to talk to you guys. Those 3 and Miles Jackson are as good a leaders with Dane Hodge and Malachi. That's the core leadership of our defense right there. And I think those guys are giving us a chance to be a significantly improved defense because you're coaching men and they're having fun and working hard. I'm thankful they're here. We're very lucky to have those guys.
Yeah, Kevin, new era in college football, the 12-team playoff. What does that carrot do for a school like TU and a conference like the American?
Well, great question, Brandon. We talked about it with our conference. First of all, the champion has got a chance potentially to be the strongest champion that's not in one of those Power 4 deals. But that being said, you got to manage your non-conference schedule. And, you come out, it's going to be, you might get in with as a one-loss team. An undefeated team's getting in. A one-loss team, if it's a good one loss, has a chance. But if you come out of your non-conference with 2 losses and run the table, it's sometimes going to be cosmetically hard because some of those bigger leagues with 3 losses are going to say, look at their strength of schedule, who they played. So I think our conference champion, because the league sets up strong, is going to have a chance. but I think we all have to manage September. And I think we need to play. So there was conversations like, well, we should play less teams. I think it's if you're going to be in that playoff, you got to play those teams. So I think when you show in your non-conference schedule that you can play with a Big 12 or an SEC and you get the victory of an ACC team and you win your league, that helps build your profile. So I don't think we need to water down our deal. And I think there's other teams, other conferences maybe have played and had good seasons and didn't play a Power 5 team. I think you got to play. I don't know, like last year, OU and Washington back-to-back, that's probably biting off a little bit more than you want to all the time. But and I think we're getting to a point where you don't have to schedule all those teams to make the budget. All the teams in the power conferences used to be you had to go play the name school to get $1 million. They're paying 1.4 at Iowa State and just like they are at Iowa, just like they are at Ohio. They're all paying the same amount because they all got the TV dollar in the big leagues. So, but I do think we need to play the Power 4 teams, but you need to manage September if you want to be represented in the 12.
A guy comes to Tulsa to coach 80 years ago, 60 years ago, 20 years, doesn't matter when. He wanted to build a program. Can you build a program these days, or because of the rules, the transfer, NIL, all that, you're really just building a team each year, not starting over, but sort of down that road? Is there a difference than what you used to be able to try to do and what you have to do now?
I think a little bit, and then in some ways I think not as much. I think you're always going to have potentially kids that can leave and kids that you can get. You got to get the right fit. But what we're working hard to do in the high school, I think there are more high school talented players available. It'd be interesting now we go to this new potential roster limit of 105. It says you can give 105 scholarships. Doesn't mean they have to be full. They're only doing it because there's schools with 85 scholarships giving kids 50 and 60. We had a kid last year that got $100,000 to go be a walk-on. And he went to a school to be a walk-on player, got $100,000 NIL. So now they're saying, basically that's like your scholarship money, right? They're saying, hey, you just got 105 guys. And you can put them on full ride, half ride, you don't have to be whatever. So it'll be interesting when that happens a year from now, what the Big 12 or SEC or Big 10 and ACC schools do from that 85 to 105. Is it more portal guys? Is it more high school guys? Because that's going to affect your roster. The thing I'm trying to tell our guys, if you want to be pretty good at it, I think you got to look at your career. I think the guys that go from school to school to school in high school have a hard time making it. I think the guys that do that in college are going to be the same deal. I look at our motto over years at OU and Ohio State is after 3 years, you would sit down and make an eval of should you go pro or not. If I have a kid that plays here 1 year and wants to go somewhere, is he going undervalue? And if you go someplace undervalue as a backup, it's like you're going as a free agent and you're never going to get another contract probably. So my deal is like, if you come here, give us a couple, 3 years to develop you. Let's see how good you can be. And if you get another opportunity, then go max it out. So I'm trying to do it the old way with a little bit of expectation. It's not going to be a 4 and a 5 year deal, but can we get a 2 and a 3 year deal with kids to see how far they can go? And you'll always lose some guys. You'll always be able to add some guys, but it's still, to me, it's a developmental game. We're a developmental program, and we have to develop guys.
Ask about the broken arrow pair, Marchicelli and Potter, who I presume that's what you meant by Mutt and Jeff.
Yeah, when you guys say that's Mutt and Jeff, Marchicelli and Potter, right? That's fair, yeah, right?
Okay.
Pretty sure, right?
Well, anyway, how much have they progressed through the summer, and how have they looked through the first 3 practices?
Okay, I mean, we're not doing a whole lot yet to tell, but they got good energy, good vibe. They've worked hard. They've been very consistent. They're healthy. They look stronger. They just got really good juice in practice. I expect them to be very strong special team players, and I think they're really strong ads. And it's nice they're local kids. We didn't try to find local kids. We were looking for backers, and when we saw they did have some local ties, we thought we could maybe be appealing. But I'm glad they're here. We lost a couple guys last year. We took a hit at that position. We didn't maybe get as many high school kids as I would have wanted to at that position in our first class a year ago. So we needed those guys, and I'm glad both those guys. And Chris Thompson's another strong ad at that spot. But those 2 kids have a very unique passion for the game and for each other, and they're a lot of fun to be around.
Last one, Bill.
This kind of goes along with what Barry was asking about, I kind of tried to ask you this in Dallas, and I did a poor job. So I'll rephrase it. So have you and Justin Moore yet had a chance to talk about what your vision for TU football can be with the resources that you guys have?
Yeah, right. Justin, I think, is trying to do a great job of just coming in like, hey, what does it mean? Like, what have been your issues? How have you worked? Who have you dealt with? Concerns. And then I think we'll get it. And my initial deal was, because in coming here, I felt I was coming here to build a program one last time and call it a day. And with what I think is coming down the road in college football, the stronger we can make our team, which these guys will tell you, I'm telling them, the stronger we can play, the more relevant we can be, the better we position ourselves as change is going to happen in college football. So I think it's critical that in my world and our players understand we're at a critical time of change in college football. And things are coming down the pike. And the better we're doing, the better fan engagement, the more fundraising and excitement our program's bringing, the better we're going to position ourselves as things are coming down the pike. So only thing I talked to Justin about, there was a 6-month, 12-month plan of getting the culture and the recruiting. Now there's going to be a 3, 5, 7, 10-year plan for facility, for budgets, for staffing, if you want to play. Because I use the analogy with all the things going on in college football. I mean, everybody knows blackjack, right? Or everybody knows Texas Hold'em and the rules, right? But when you walk in those casinos, there's different tables you play at. It's the same rules. 21's 21, bust is bust, split them. But are you playing at the $5 table or are you playing at the unlimited table? And that's what's getting ready to come down in football. We're all playing football. Which table are you pulling up to? And in time, Justin and I, with the president and board of trustees, they'll go through all that. And the NCAA is going to have a lot to say with that. The schools, as these leagues go through it, it'll be interesting. And I don't think things are happening for 2, 3, maybe 5 years because of the playoffs. But there's a lot of change coming in college football. We're going to do our damnedest to keep our program strong, that we can stay relevant and stay proud, because this is a proud, historically rich, one of the winningest programs in college football. And it's our goal to keep that thing up there, Bill.
Doesn't it encourage you? Justin raised so much money at A&M for football.
But I'm just afraid you're not going to give us anything. See, I mean, so for him to raise it, he's going to. What you got? I mean, you're part of the ticket now.
Well, to make it pretty good side that
Rick Dixon's parting gift was $38 million, right?
No doubt. And Rick had worked hard, and Rick's still working. And I think if we're fortunate, and I want to say I was remiss not saying because I wanted to, a big thanks to Rick. And I know he's enjoying some fishing right now, and I know where he is fishing right now. But he did a lot for this place in a tough time and got us to a good spot. And I think we'll be able to continue to use him as a positive resource because so many people love and respect and appreciate what he's done for the school and what he's done for Tulsa athletics. So it was great to get that at the end, like you said. And I think but again, Justin's not coming in right now. I think, just in my opinion, let him. But I think he's trying to figure out how this place works, what are the strengths and weaknesses, and then in time he can start putting his stamp on it all. Appreciate it, guys. Sorry I was late. Thanks.